Alright, today we're going to be doing an alternator, power steering pump, and a VVT solenoid gasket on a Honda Odyssey. Stay tuned. Okay, so we got all our parts right here. Got our seals. This is the VVT solenoid, power steering pump's back here, and the alternator's down there. Let's get started. Okay, so we got the engine cover removed by loosening two flat heads. Then I went ahead and took the belt off. It's this pulley right here, 15 millimeter. Next, I'm going to probably go ahead and remove this wiring harness out of the way so I can get access to this VVT solenoid, because that's the main issue here. Okay, so I went ahead and removed this from the metal bracket under it by pushing up on this tab and pushing down on that one. And then I took the 10 millimeter bolts out and set the bracket aside. I unplugged our VVT solenoid connectors as well as the ignition coil. Give myself as much space as I can with this harness. Went ahead and removed that. There's two clips here and here. And I disconnect the negative on the battery. Alright, so I went ahead and wire tied the harness out of the way the best I could. Took the 3 bolts out of the solenoid. So, 1 on top, 2 on bottom, 10 millimeter. Cleaned it up a little bit. Took the gasket out. Now I'm going to go ahead and remove this plate. There's going to be another seal underneath it. Okay, so we got that plate removed. Removed any bit of old gasket material that may have been stuck to it. And here's the seal that's under it, and that's likely where the main part of the leak was that he was experiencing. It's a major oil leak right here. Alright, so we got the old gasket out of there. Now, put the new one in place after wiping it down a little bit. Then we want to go ahead and put this plate back on. Make sure that it's lined up down here. I want to say there's supposed to be another guide pin on the bottom here like there is at the top, but I'm not 100% sure. I want to check the solenoid, but that's basically how it goes back on, like that. Alright, so we got the new gasket installed in the solenoid itself, which was the upper one. Put the 3 bolts back in, tightened it back up. Now I'm going to go ahead and start removing the power steering pump. Alright, so I went ahead and emptied out the reservoir using my Mighty Vac suction tool. And then I emptied the power steering fluid out of it into a drain, or an oil drain container. And then I went ahead and removed the clamp. This one's not the factory one, just one of those regular aftermarket clamps. And then I used a pair of hose pliers to pull that off. And I had a paper towel or shop towels under here to catch any additional fluid that may have come out. Now I'm going to take these two off. I'm going to take the pulley off. And then we can get to the actual bolts that mounts it to the engine. Alright, so I went ahead and took off those two 10 millimeter bolts, took the line off, put a bag around it so it doesn't drip everywhere, and I set it back there to the side. And then I decided to just go ahead and take the 2 bolts out. There's one kind of around this area, and there's another one down below the pulley, and I just took it off as an assembly. It was a little bit of a pain in the ass to get it out, but I did get it out. Now this will make it, we're taking the pulley off and everything will be a lot easier. Alright, so I got the old pulley off of there. Reinstalled it on the new pump. Just took my impact, made it a lot easier. Take it off, put it back on. Obviously I didn't bang down on it real hard, just tightened it up enough. Then I went ahead and removed this part from the power steering pump. It's just got one 10 millimeter bolt. There's the O-ring. And our new power steering pump comes with two new ones. One of them goes on this, and the other one is going to go on that line back here that we took off. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure we put a new O-ring on there, make sure it's lubricated with a little bit of power steering fluid. I'm going to reinstall this piece on the new power steering pump. Alright, so the next thing I did was went ahead and removed all the bolts from the alternator. There's a small bracket at the top with a 12mm bolt that holds the bracket to the engine, and the other 12mm bolt is where the top part of the alternator mounts to that bracket. Also on the bottom, down there kind of where you see the writing on the belt, is another bolt, a 14mm. Went ahead and got all of those removed. There's that bracket and those bolts. And now I believe that I'm gonna have to reposition the coolant reservoir and or the power steering a little bit so that I can get that alternator pulled out of here. Alright, so I was able to get the alternator out of there by repositioning this reservoir, and I totally removed the coolant reservoir. There is a small clip like this at the top of it, and then it pretty much just slides out of a bracket. You can kind of see this little piece right here where it slides into the slot on a bracket, and then the hose connects here, which pretty much just slides off, and I was able to get it out between this side of the hose. You got to take this bolt off as well, but I was able to get that alternator off, and we are a little over halfway done. I did end up getting a little power steering fluid on some shit, but I'll go ahead and clean that up as best I can. So now I'm going to go ahead and start putting in the new alternator. Alright, so I went ahead and snuck the new alternator back in there, got all those bolts back in as well as the bracket, sprayed everything down with some brake cleaner the best I could, cleaned it up a little bit, went ahead and reinstalled the power steering pump. Next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and reinstall the belt, get the coolant reservoir and power steering reservoir back in place, and reconnect the reservoir to the pump. Then I'm going to go ahead and bring that hose over here, put the new O-ring on it, and install it on the power steering pump. Alright, so now we got the belt back on, we got that hose connected to the power steering pump, all the reservoirs back in place, we got the top line back on with the new O-ring installed. All the alternator electrical connections are back on. The bracket that goes under this wiring harness has been put back on. I reconnected the 3 ignition coils as well as the 2 connectors that go to the VVT solenoid. Next thing I need to do is just put the oil dipstick back in. I'm going to clean up around there a little bit, reconnect the battery, and put the air snorkel piece back on, and then put the engine cover back on. Alright, so now we're pretty much back to where we started. All you got to do now is make sure you fill up the power steering fluid, start the engine, let it run for a little bit, maybe turn the steering wheel both ways, maybe go drive it. That should bleed any air that's in the system out. And we also want to make sure that it's not leaking around the VVT solenoid. And otherwise, you can pat yourself on the back for a job well done. Alright guys, that's going to be the end of our video for today. Hope you all enjoyed it. I hope everybody's having a safe and happy holiday. If you enjoyed this video, please do me a huge favor and leave a subscribe. If you like the video, definitely leave a like as well. I apologize I haven't been posting too many videos lately. It's been brutally cold here in the Kansas City area for the last week. I honestly didn't do hardly any jobs at all, but I wanted to get something out there for you guys because I know I've been slacking on my content. I acknowledge that. I'm going to try to get some more videos out for you guys this week because it's supposed to be pretty warm. So I appreciate you guys sticking with me. My subscriber count has continued to go up, as well as my watch hours, even while I haven't been posting. And I do sincerely appreciate all of you out there. Hope you all have a great rest of your day. Thank you.